Hey there, YouTube. I'm going to show you my book collection, or at least some of them. I reorganized my books today, and it's still a little chaotic, so bear with me. A lot of my books are still sitting on the floor over there. A lot of them are in the bedroom, but here is a quick rundown. Wish I could get a little bit better light over here. Here's a quick rundown of the kind of things that I have in my library. So the top, we have Sexual Symbolism. This is a real special book, good one to peruse through, by Richard Payne Knight and Thomas Wright. And this one was actually, all the copies were burned by the author. He was a scholar, and he lived during a time where looking up things like, discussing and researching phallic worship, because that's a history of phallic worship is actually the original name. And here's an interesting thing. It's actually two books put together. That's why it's Richard Payne Knight and Thomas Wright. The first one is A Discourse on the Worship of Priapus, 1786. The second one is The Worship of the Generative Powers. I think the second one was possibly an ode, picking up where Sir Richard Payne Knight left off. But the author, Richard Payne Knight, really lost his reputation as a reputable scholar in that year because of Victorian type attitudes of sex and things like that, Puritan attitudes, whatever you want to call them. So he actually was so ashamed of it, he rallied all the copies he could around and burned them. So it is hard to find. It's a really good book. I'm really into that. It's really fascinating how the beginning of deity worship may have been worship of the sex organs. And next we have Eliade, Mircea Eliade, who he's just a damn fine writer. He is a controversial scholar among some, as is Carl Jung. But I see no reason to stay away from Carl Jung, Mircea Eliade, however you say this guy's name, Carl Karenyi. We have a few Carl Karenyis, but okay. All right. So we have Eliade. We have The Myth of the Eternal Return. Great book. Fantastic book. We have Myth and Reality, which I don't think I have read yet. We have The Sacred and Profane, which is also a great book to read with The Myth of the Eternal Return. All these are really good to read together. Really give you an appreciation for mythology and the history of religions in a way that, say George Fraser would give you in The Golden Bough, which weirdly enough, I did not come across a copy of that. But here we have Carl Jung, Psychology and Alchemy. We have the Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, possibly his best-selling Bulligan book. I'm not quite sure. I see that one a lot in bookstores, used bookstores. The two essays on analytical psychology, Mysterium Conjunctionis, okay? Alchemical Studies. All right, so I really should have Psychology and Alchemy and then these last two together, because Carl Jung did an extensive account of ancient alchemical texts and talks about them in the light of Carl Jung, individuation, spirit alchemy, and such. You could even say theurgy. Then we have The Origin and History of Consciousness by Eric Newman, who, admittedly, I have not read it, but I have listened to the audiobook, and it's going to take a while for me to really get into that one, which I think there's probably something there to really get into, but it hasn't happened yet. We have essays on a science of mythology, which I have not read. I've read snippets, so I really need to get into that. That's Carl Jung and Carl Karenyi. And we have Psychic Powers by Esther Harding. I wish I could give you a little bit more background on Esther Harding. I know she was in that Carl Jung circle. Carl Jung wrote the foreword to this book, and it's a fascinating study. What do they call that? Parapsychology. Which I would say Carl Jung is a father of parapsychology. He's, even though he was there in the Vienna school at the birth of psychoanalysis, he really took off into other things such as synchronicity. Fascinating topic. Skipping around, we have dreams, another fascinating topic. Flying saucers. Answer to Job, a real great book, which I need to read more. There's a lot there. Job itself in the Old Testament is a fascinating book, and Carl Jung does a great job doing sort of the same thing that he's doing to alchemical texts in some of these books. But that is one of his most acclaimed volumes. Then we have mandala symbolism. Carl Jung was very much into mandalas and their therapeutic effects, and there's something there. There's something to that. You see a lot of mandalas everywhere you go in all kinds of religions and mythologies. There's something symbolic about mandalas. The Tibetans use mandalas as a form of meditation, and there may be even perhaps some, how do you say this, microcosmic magic going on in the creation of the mandala. Then we have Blake and Antiquity, which I really should read that. William Blake is a favorite of mine. Then we have the Hieroglyphics of Horopalo. Very fascinating volume, very fascinating. This is written, it's translated, because it is an ancient, it's translated and introduced by George Boas. I don't remember if they know who the author is. It's not printed on this cover, but that's really, really cool. It's like written by, I think, an ancient Greek, or perhaps Roman, who wrote about the hieroglyphics. I guess Horopalo would be the author, and then wrote about the hieroglyphics of Egypt and the Greco-Egyptian sort of magical milieu. Then we have one I picked up called Love and the Soul. I don't have a lot to say about that. I haven't really cracked that yet. This should really be over by the Young Alchemy books. We have Marie-Louise von France. I think there's also a Bollingen edition to this book. I just did not get my hands on it, but this is a good find. I just need to dig into it. I really want to dig into it after I read all the Carl Jung's alchemy books, but this is, look at, document attributed to Thomas Aquinas on the problem of opposites in alchemy. Edited with a commentary by Marie-Louise von France. I don't agree with everything she says, but she is quite the thinker. Then we have Carl Karenyi, Hermes, Ego and Archetype. This looked good. Picked it up. I haven't read it. Edward Edinger, Ego and Archetype. A little mandala action for you. And then we have Amour and Psyche by Eric Newman, who wrote the Origins of Consciousness. This is a really good book, Amour and Psyche. I like these little volumes, like Karenyi's Eleusis, one of my favorites. Great exposition. I didn't really speak much on these, but this Eleusis really blew my mind when I read it. Prometheus so far is great, but then we have Eric Newman's Amour and Psyche, which is a different style of writing, but really good. I think that the myth of Amour and Psyche is really worth an understanding. And then we have Myth, Religion, and Mother Right. This is an ancient, or not ancient, but it's a classic, I guess, that they reprinted. J.J. Verhoeven. I think Joseph Campbell or somebody may have discovered this and, realized, oh, you were into what we're into kind of thing. And then, of course, next to it, we have The Great Mother by Eric Newman, which is, I think, a lot of the same type of things going on. The thesis there is that way back in our prehistory, maternity, or what am I trying to say? Matriarchy, at least in the worship of a matriarchal deity, was hugely prevalent, and these two both are studies of that. I have not finished either, but I've read a little bit of both, and they are fascinating. Somewhere in this mess, I have The White Goddess by Robert Graves, and sort of a sloppier, more libertarian, but creative and beautiful book by Robert Graves, sort of about the same thing, you could say. We have a book on Bolligen itself, which, if you want to study what this symbol here is the Bollingen House, or the Bollingen Publication Company, that is named after the Bollingen House. And the Bollingen House was where Carl Jung ended up living. I think it was a place of study for him, as well as living. And then after his death, they began to have talks there. And that is, the talks there were actually called the Iranos Lectures. And I don't have all of them. I would like to have all of them, but we have the mysteries, we have spiritual disciplines, and man and transformation. And you'll find a lot of these same authors, with addition to of other authors within these books, and they are transcripts of lectures given at the Iranos conference, which I believe are all held in Bollingen. I could be wrong about that. And then we have On Dreams and Death by Marie-Louise von Franz, which, I mean, how could that not be good? And then I can just hear her voice. When I read that, I'm just going to hear her voice the whole time. And then we have Eliade from Primitives to Zen, which I haven't read, but that almost seems like it might be another George Fraser-esque book, Golden Bough. I'm excited to crack that. I just have so many books on my list I gotta get through. Okay, this is the exciting stuff. And now we have Techniques of Greco-Egyptian Magic. And by the way, I apologize. The order is horrible right now. I did sort of organize them into like Carl Jungian, Bollingen-esque books, occult sort of books, grimoire, tarot. Little bit bleeds into over here, Robert Anton Wilson, a little bit more occult, Freemasonry, but okay, I'm gonna slow down. I'm just giving you a warning that they are not organized the best. All right, we have Techniques of Greco-Egyptian Magic by Dr. Stephen Skinner. I'm gonna pull this one out because Stephen Skinner, to own any of his books on grimoires or magic is it's a treat. It's a real treat. All right, and then we have Francis Barrett, The Magus, a classic that was written, I think in the 18th century. I think it predated Eliphas Levi. And it's a hermetic kind of, I suppose, repackaging of Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy, sort of puts it into a program. And we have a book that I just came across at a used bookstore. I haven't really read anything by him, but David Chaim Smith, A Guide to Contemplative Mysticism. The guy is a very unique illustrator. He does all his own illustrations and writes in a very journaling kind of way. It's very poetic. I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of great theoretical knowledge with Smith's work, but it's beautiful nonetheless. It's inspired. And we have Giovinco. I have not, admittedly, have not cracked this one. KC Giovinco. I mean, I've flipped through the pages. Using yoga to enhance your witchcraft. Maybe someday. Okay, and then we have one that flipping through looks like it might be really good, but I have not started it. Kabbalah by Charles Ponce, if I'm saying that right, or Ponce. Horrible at French. I'm not even sure if that's French, but it looks French to me. And then we have the Cicero's Self-Initiation into the Golden Dawn. Freaking awesome. Get your hands on this if you're interested in Golden Dawn magic or initiation. There I do have the Israel Regardie version. See, I got paperback, and then I also got 2 versions of the hardcover. Don't ask me why. It was a weird time where I was finding these online, and I got these 2 online, and then I got this at a bookstore like within the same week, and this as well in the same week. This has some great stuff. I mean, Regardie's, he's a genius. He was a genius. But if you want a accessible, honest, relatable type thing, go for Chick Cicero and Sandra Cicero. Their initiation into the Golden Dawn. They take it seriously. There's great advice in there, and just a beautiful system that they call the PhD of esotericism. I mean, if you want to get a PhD in esotericism, that's where to go. All right, and then we have Stephen Flowers, Hermetic Magic. Really cool cover on this one. I've only read a little bit. See my bookmark. I've heard some things about Stephen Flowers. I don't get too political, but apparently he's into some controversial things. We have Star in the West, which has some really cool stuff. JFC Fuller, who was he was very close to Aleister Crowley. I don't know exactly what his relation to Aleister Crowley is. There are people out there that are extremely knowledgeable, like this man, Richard Kaczynski, who wrote Perdurabo, The Life of Aleister Crowley, which will have plenty of great information about JFC Fuller, I'm sure. But time will tell if I will be knowledgeable about that topic in the future. And we have another one by Richard Kaczynski I picked up called Panic in Detroit, which is apparently about the time that the AA, I think it was, either the AA or the OTO, Crowley was running it, releasing the Equinox journals, and they were selling for a time, and they kind of thought, okay, well, this would be a great way to fund things, and I think they may have opened quite a few lodges, and then they didn't sell. They weren't selling, and this book is about money problems and drama, from what I can tell. Written by a man who is very, very knowledgeable, very trustworthy, and a very kind man. If you've ever seen him on any interviews, Richard Kaczynski is a very cool guy. All right, and then we have The Tree of Life by Israel Regardie, a classic, great book. You can see there, edited by Chick and Sandra Tabitha Cicero. This is, The Tree of Life, along with Eliphas Levi's High Magic, the Doctrine and Ritual, are probably the best all-around magic books you can read that are that size, without going into like a triple volume like Agrippa. But then you have the middle pillar, which is, hey, let's get into the work. Let's start doing this stuff. Let's start practicing some of these rituals, and let's, of course, observe their effects. All right, and then Eliphas Levi, however you say it, he's one of my first favorite occult authors. He's just so fun. he just really has a way with words. You know, he's during the French occult revival, which is a very exciting time. And this one particularly, it's a little all over the place, but there's some really great stuff here, including a very disturbing account of Bluebeard, who was a French count who murdered children and then kept them in a tower, only to be discovered by his poor, swooning wife. There's a real interesting story in that one. We have A Formless Fire by Ike Baker, which more or less kind of does the same things as Tree of Life, or what's the other one I have that's not up here actually? Essential Golden Dawn by Chick Cicero. Although this does provide something that other books don't, which is it's a little bit more argumentative, and I mean that in a good way. It has a real thesis at the end. There's soapboxing going on at the end, and that's Ike Baker's style, but I appreciate it. I think it's definitely food for thought, and provided great information if I was ever going to do a paper on Western esotericism. All right, and then Perdurabo by Kaczynski, huge tome. I'm actually going to give that to a friend. So I don't know. I could get it on audio, I suppose. I probably will. Ooh, and then we have Julius Evola, The Mystery of the Grail. I have a hard time, I'll be honest, getting into Evola, but we'll see. And then we have Chrétien de Troyes, Percival. Don't ask me why it's here in the occult section. Probably will find its way somewhere else. I just moved these today. And then we have The Lesser Key of Solomon. This is a really beautiful version that I got. So if I ever get to the point where I'm working with these things, I will use this. Otherwise, right now, it's just encyclopedic knowledge. And this is sort of the same, although I'm a little bit more ready to actually, cruise through this one and take notes. But am I going to... This book, Abramelin, the Book of Abramelin the Mage by Abraham von Worms, it's one of the most famous grimoires, if you can call it a grimoire. It is. It's a grimoire with a lot of story interwoven. And it's a father passing a magical system on to his son. And the Abramelin operation, as it's called, is this very extensive working that I believe takes almost a year. I don't think it's quite a year of purification, of intense prayer, of basically a theurgical working. And what's supposed to happen at the end of this working, this operation, is knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel, as they call it, in quite a few systems. So the Golden Dawn, Crowley's, Thelema, OTO, AA, whichever one we're talking about. I'm pretty sure they all involve the holy guardian angel, which is... it's a speculated thing. I could say that perhaps it's the higher self, perhaps it's the soul, perhaps it is something else entirely. So, and then after knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel, then you're apparently a magician. You're a magician that is ready to start working and getting down and dirty with getting demons to do your bidding, and then binding them and all the other stuff to keep them safe and sound, not out there doing naughty things. Sort of a Solomonic thing going on there. And then we have another one I picked up, Between the Worlds, kind of a little bit redundant, but it's a program of spiritual development, which a little bit more of the witchcraft element there. And we have Kabbalah Magic by Liam Christopher, who has a YouTube channel. Very knowledgeable guy. Cool guy. Picked up his book. I haven't gotten past the first couple of chapters, but, really, me personally, I'm in the beginning stages of whatever you'd call this, Golden Dawn, Kabbalah magic. Kabbalah magic is basically Golden Dawn. This guy is a Golden Dawn initiate or adept. I'm not sure what his ranking is. And he released this book so that people could practice magic on their own. Virtually the same thing going on here, right? Or here, he just repackages it, puts his own wording in, and probably a little more simple. But I prefer the Israel Regardie tone, and Cicero can't beat that. But check out his YouTube channel. It's great. Then we have The Ceremony of the Grail, which I've listened to on Audible, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. It was one of my obsessive favorites for a while. I think any book, anything that talks about the Rosicrucian mysteries, like the vault, what am I trying to say? The Temple of the Adept, or the Vault of the Adepti, or whatever. Any stories where it explains some of this real spooky Rosicrucian mystery going on, I go for it. I really go for it. So I recommend this book. He seems like he really knows what's up. I don't know if everyone feels that way, but Greer is a prevalent author, and he spent a good portion of his life studying these topics. And so, I mean, it's the Grail, It's not physics, right? It's the Grail. And I would say Greer, who actually wrote the introduction to Eliphas Levi's Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic. I'll show you. He's on the cover here. Right there, translated by Greer. Could have been one of the reasons I liked it so much. So, yeah. And then we have Gnostic Secrets of the Nassenes, which I haven't really flipped through. This is a Inner Traditions book, which I picked it up, honestly, because it's on Inner Traditions. And, hey, I grew up a Jesus, Christian, a Jesus person, if you want to say it. And I still consider myself a Christian mystic. And then we have The Celtic Golden Dawn by Greer. And haven't gone through this much, but, I think it's somewhat similar to some of these Golden Dawn programs. However, he gets it more to the root of, Druid, Celtic type things rather than a Jewish Kabbalistic system. And then we have one that I heard you just have to have if you study magic, and that is David Rankin's The Grimoire Encyclopedia. I listened to an hour and a half or so interview with David Rankin on Glitch Bottle podcast, and it was just fantastic. So I thought I had to pick this up. I'll be honest, this is way beyond me. I flipped through it, and it's very encyclopedic, indexed, all that stuff, but Stephen Skinner recommends it. This is a highly recommended book for anyone that's working with magic. And so I'm happy to have it on my shelf because, whatever. I can say I have it. And then we have Astral Projection, Ritual Magic, and Alchemy. It's really funny because I bought this, if I can find it. I bought this after, and I bought this because it was at Half Price Books it was in their, glass case. I think it was running for $60, and I'm like, nah, I'm not going to get it. Then it went half price or something down to 30, and I'm like, oh, sweet, I got to get it. Well, I had previously, in Half Price Books, purchased this one here, Ritual Magic of the Golden Dawn. You see Francis King's name on there. Well, Francis King is on there. So I'm like, wonder how different they are. Yeah, they're the exact same book. So that was kind of annoying. Didn't really need that, but whatever. We'll sell it someday. This is by far one of my favorite books. I mean, I think it's a timeless classic. So many reasons to like this Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic, and John Michael Greer really brings it to life. I have read a little bit of Arthur Edward Waite's translation, and it's a bit dry, whereas Greer, oh gosh, I think Greer honestly channeled him. It was just so good. Although I have not read the original in French, so I can't say that for sure. But to me, it gets the real thing across. So, well done, John Michael Greer. And I think he did that in cooperation with a guy that knew French. So it's not like Greer knows French really well. He worked with a guy who knows French, kind of like a Dee and Kelly situation. Then we have the Key of the Mysteries by Levy. I'm not sure I'd recommend this book. Cool cover, but he was sort of in a very diehard Catholic phase at that time. And, I suppose that the Key of the Mysteries is like the answer to Rosicrucianism, because Rosicrucianism was Protestant-based magic, and this book is like, serve the Pope. Do what the Pope says, or else you're anathema to the church, to the Holy Catholic Church. So I don't know. He was a conflicted individual. Hey, no one's perfect. Then we have a Francis King book. Very, how should I say this? Riveting, sensational. There's some very well-written, scandalous stuff in sexuality, magic, and perversion. If I could just show you the cover real quick. Don't want to get into too much trouble, but yeah, pick this up if you can. Some really good stories. And honestly, if you're the kind of person that's like, I like to know about the Golden Dawn, but I'm not like gonna go through, say, the Golden Dawn by Israel Regardie, but I want to know the history. This will give you some of the history. It even has some Theosophical Society scandals on Ledbetter, and good stuff. And then we have Stephen Heller's The Fool's Pilgrimage, who he runs the Gnostic Ecclesia Gnostica Catholic Church, or something like that. He was a Jungian, so there's a bit of Carl Jung in this. Gnosticism, magic. Then we have Meditations on the Tarot, which I really need to get through this one, because it really does have some beautiful stuff. This was originally released anonymously. I believe it still is anonymous. There's nothing there that says who the author is, although it was Victor. I'm gonna butcher it. Say it in the comments if you know who it is. It's like Victor Thurnberg or something. No, I'm totally getting that wrong. But anyways, he was a Catholic priest, mystic. Didn't want people associating his name with the occult. But this book could be really the key to why things like this matter. The Christian mystical occult connection. It's nice to have when you are someone who grew up in the church and is unwilling to completely leave the theology of things that you are attached to, let's face it. And then you also get attracted to the occult. Books like Meditations on the Tarot and Eliphas Levi, they're really nice. They're really nice. So moving on, we have The Art of True Healing by Israel Regardie. A Garden of Pomegranates by Israel Regardie, which I think this one is Scrying the Tree of Life, I believe is the subtitle. Yeah. So A Garden of Pomegranates is like a Kabbalistic meditation. My Rosicrucian Adventure, which was originally written as the introduction to the Golden Dawn, but he decided to release it separately. Fantastic stuff there. It can be a bit choppy with Regardie's way of explaining things, but he's a smart guy and he's a character. Then we have this sort of compendium of a lot of writings on spirits. And this is actually a pretty cool book, edited by Adam P. Forrest. Just to give you an example, get to a good page here. I mean, you got some really good stuff. So this is, who wrote this one? It is, that's interesting. The name isn't there. But it's the Evocation of Metatron, a Golden Dawn Z2 ritual. Well, there you go. I mean, it's a Golden Dawn ritual. So who knows, Mathers maybe wrote it. But it's some beautiful stuff. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. It's a great printing. It's really nice. The editor is Adam P. Forrest, released on Azoth. You have introduction by Adam P. Forrest, John Michael Greer. Let me see if I can focus here. John Michael Greer, Aaron Leach, which he's an awesome practitioner. Schick Cicero. Oh, okay. So there, who's credited? Jake Stratton Kent, another heavy hitter there. So yeah, pretty cool. Glad I picked this one up, honestly. Where are we gonna put that? Put that right here. Okay, and then moving on, we have Crowley's book 4. Principia Discordia. This is one of my favorites. I read this on the plane in a real kind of sleepy liminal mood, and this is some good stuff. Really good stuff. It's an interesting book because I think that the Chaldean oracles of Zoroaster are sort of like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, where it's like there are different versions, and I don't think there's been a scholarly consensus on. I think that a scholar might tell you, well, the original is just lost to time, and that this is, something channeled by, I'm not sure if this was Mathers. Anyway, sorry. Oh, there you go. Westcott. So the other Golden Dawn guy. But really cool stuff. I need to get more of Westcott's material. Then we have the Tradition of Household Spirits, Ancestral Lore and Practices. This one didn't really hit for me. Then we have the Witch's Almanac, 2024, Spring 24 to 25. These are kind of cool. I have so much to read. I didn't really go through it much. This is just really good advice. I mean, honestly, like, Rigardi. Okay, he's got a way with words, even if he's choppy. He's just so lovable, and I'm really into Gurdjieff, as you'll see. This kind of stuff with this kind of stuff, yeah, baby. Now we're talking. All right, we have the 1 Year Manual by Rigardi, and this is kind of in his phase where he was like, I don't really want to be known for an occultist per se. I want to be more like a healer. Spiritual, he saw it as psychology. I don't know what this is doing here. The Practical Art of Divine Magic by Patrick Dunn. Sort of an essay, I suppose, on what magic is. Conks on Pox. This has one of my favorite Crowley writings. This is required reading material to be a, what do they call that? Shoot. The first stage in AA initiation. The Wake World. That's what it is. The Wake World. Page 12. The Wake World is just amazing. If you are on YouTube and you put in The Wake World, what is it called? The Wake World Silver Star, I think. What is that channel called? Anyways, there's this like OTO sort of leg or arm, or whatever you want to call it, like this. I'm not saying it right. I'm not saying it right. It's got these like two S's and a red triangle for their logo. It is not Nazi related, I promise you. It's David Schumacher, who's like a doctorate in psychology, is also a practicing Thelemite. Long way to say that on that channel, there is a girl who seems to be trained in audio dramatical readings, who reads The Wake World out of Conks on Pox. It is Crowley to a T. I mean, it is so Crowley, but it's so beautiful. Crowley really just, he got into some crazy stuff. Then we have, I think I already pointed that out. Yep, we're backing up here. Okay. Oh, you got to have Principia Discordia. We'll get into Robert Anton Wilson later. And this, like I said, just a copy of that other one. Okay, what we got? This is just trash. I'll be honest. I bought this Hermetic Rosicrucian Grill Tarot. How to read and understand tarot cards. Garbage. Garbage. I'm not even going to explain why it's garbage. It's just garbage. All right, and then we have Papus, the Kabbalah. Papus was the guy who sort of carried the torch for Martinism. Yeah. Kabbalah. And then we have Lon Milo Duquette's The Magic of Thelema, which has some great practical info, some history on Aleister Crowley and Thelema. And Duquette really carries the torch for Thelema. I think he's a really great case, actually, of why a practicing Thelema might be extremely useful to your magical practice. All right, okay, let's get on with it. Robert Anton Wilson, Illuminatus Trilogy, Schrodinger's Cat, Ishtar Rising, Cosmic Trigger. Okay, so that's what I have. Some good stuff. This one's actually signed, which is pretty sweet. This one's signed. Yeah, I didn't get it signed. I bought it and it was signed, which is, kind of sad, right? Like, why the heck? So it's pretty sweet. Great author. I mean, he's just an amazing. Can't say enough about him. Then we have Tripping the Trail of Ghosts, which is about ancient civilizations that use psychedelics, Native American mound cultures using psychedelics. He's a good author. I like him. He's also kind of a buddy of mine, sorta, kinda. We message back and forth on Facebook. He's cool. He's got a lot of cool stories about growing up in Mississippi. Anyways, moving on. Rosicrucian America, which I haven't read much of, but it intrigued me. Magic, Witchcraft, and Religion. We actually found this at my wife's childhood bedroom. So we decided, hey, like, it's a textbook on all that stuff. So let's bring it home. Exploring Scrying. Is this mine? Yeah, I don't know if that's mine or my wife's, but then we have this. I mean, this is worthwhile. The Gems from the Equinox. It's got the vision and the voice in there. So the Enochian calls, the Enochian Aether Scrying writings that he did. It has all the basic AA grade material in there. So if you did want to try to join AA and be an initiate of Crowley's Astrum Argentum then definitely grab this one. Then we have the Kabbalah Unveiled by, translated by Mathers. It was actually originally written by, of course I'm freezing on this. It was called Kabbalah Denutata. Yeah, I'm blanking. It's okay. Then we got an author that I've recently gotten into that I really like. Her name is, I'm going to butcher this probably, but Isha Schwaller de Lubitsch. And the first one I read was this Opening of the Way. And this book, it's one of those books that you cut your teeth on and you're like, that was really good for me to read. I need to go back and read it again. And so it set me on a kick. So much so that I went out and I bought another one called Journey into the Light, which is about this guy in the Cathedral of Notre Dame that seems to have met like the devil and possibly like an angel of light or whatever. But it's good and I really can't wait to finish it. And then one of my trusted teachers, I'll just say that, recommended Herbach, which apparently was kind of well known in occult circles back in the day. So it's kind of cool to get that, when you find something and then you meet someone and they talk about it, it's like, ooh, synchronicity. And she had a husband who they were like Egyptian, they claim this, and I don't have any reason to doubt them. I know scholars don't really look at them too kindly. They're considered one of those sort of like romanticizing Egypt, but it's like, dude, these people lived there for, 12 years, I think. Got really into studying the symbols, initiatic systems, basically did the Gurdjieffian thing in Egypt. So like, try to come back with the secrets. And I would say, regardless of whether they got it right to a T, there's some great material in here, and very much in line with the Gurdjieffian work. Okay, and then we have just another copy of that because I bought that on accident because I was on such a kick I didn't realize that I already had it. And then I don't know, I just found a few books on Egypt that I bought. I haven't really gone through them, but this one looks really cool. Myth and Symbol in Ancient Egypt by R.T. Rundle Clark. That's a name that I'd come across before, so I thought I'd pick that up. The other one's on Ibis, and the other one's on Inner Tradition, so that's really the reason I got them. Then we got The Grand Communication by Nathan Schick. Nathan Schick's a really cool guy. I've seen him speak before in person, met him. He actually signed this copy. And it's a free history of Freemasonry book. So, very cool. Then we have the Hiram Key. I'm not so sure how much of this should be taken seriously, but damn, is it entertaining. Like, oh my gosh. I've never read the Da Vinci Code, but to me, like, this is my Da Vinci Code, the Hiram Key right here. All right, then we have the Secret Psychology of Freemasonry. Then we have the Lost Key. And then we have The Way of the Craftsman. And I wouldn't have purchased these if they didn't seem like they were like pretty legit, Master Mason, not going off the rails. Like these guys, I believe both of them are Masons, but they go off on tangents, and it's obvious that it's unfounded, but it's fun. These are like, this is some good bread and butter type stuff. And then we have another Brother of the 32nd Degree, I think, church word, Signs and Symbols, Primordial Man. And this really has a lot more to do with things like this, or, this, okay? But flipping through this, I might show you, just so you can get me to shut up about it. I mean, it basically goes and studies the whole world as much as possible, kind of like, you know, the Bollingen crew, in an extremely symbolic way, right? And let's see if it says, so, 30 Degree Mason, author of Origin and Antiquity of Freemasons. And then what I'm trying to get is the original publishing date, so we get a little bit of context for you. This was originally published in 1903, okay, by Albert Churchward. I dedicate this work to all my brother Masons in whatever clime and whatever creed who believe in and acknowledge the one great architect of the universe. So this was some really great, Research Lodge kind of material. The thing that's cool about Freemasonry is, like, these guys are keepers of symbols and ritual. And to be honest, from what I can tell, most of them don't really have a set scholarly system of knowing where these things came from. I mean, I don't know if it's set up that way to make it look more mysterious, but from what it seems like, it's like, okay, we know that Freemasonry was, I don't know, I think 1719 or 18 is when the first chartered lodge, the first charges were written. But there's a lot of speculation that Freemasonry goes way back, and there's speculation that what Freemasons did was take initiation rituals and symbolism from all over the world. So anytime somebody back in the day went and studied another culture and found out that there was this certain way of bringing a boy into manhood and to explain to him the truths of the higher worlds, then Freemasonry would put that into their story somehow. And that's what this book really does. Really plunges the depths, but it's fascinating. I mean, it never gets into aliens or anything too weird. It's pretty cool. It's a lot like these papers, actually. It's a great companion to something like Man in Transformation, which talks about initiation rituals in Papua New Guinea, and the things that I was talking about before. All right, moving on. So then now we have Celestial Ship of the North. This was written by E. Valentia Strayton, and this is kind of like this stuff. It's like a woman who claimed, I don't know if she was a theosophist, she probably was. She claimed she knew, what was up with all the Egyptian religion. Great stuff. In Search of Light, Robert G. Davis, a nice little book I picked up, A Course of Hieroglyphic and Moral Instruction for the Symbolic Lodge. Love that picture there on the front. Beautiful. Saw Robert G. Davis speak in person as well. Very nice guy. And then the Celtic Druids. This is an old, this is probably written in the 1800s, and it was reprinted. And, the Celtic Druids is another one, kind of like the Egyptians, right? It's like, well, they didn't write anything down, so how do we know what they really believed and all that? But then it's like, well, there's so many stories and accounts of like Cicero and Caesar of the Druids, so we know that they existed. It was published in 1829. This is a book that I haven't gone through, but I just know that someday I will. Someday I may use it. It's got some great illustrations, sort of like a Göbekli Tepe sort of situation. Yeah. Well, that's an awful lot. All right. And then we have W.L. Wilmhurst, sneaking back to the back, to the back, to the back. The Meaning of Masonry, highly recommended book for Masons. We have Kirk McNulty, who also wrote The Way of the Craftsman. Trustworthy Mason. Beautiful, beautiful book. I mean, if you like the symbolism of Freemasonry or Rosicrucianism, this is just beautifully printed. It's just beautiful. I hope to someday meet this brother. Cool guy. Seems like a cool guy. This was recommended to me by the what do you call him? So when you are a prospect looking to join a lodge, you got to talk to a certain someone in our area, and that certain guy recommended that I get this, and a lot of great information there. Oh, I don't have it in physical copy, but I also have Freemasonry for Dummies on audiobook. Kind of similar material there. All right, this is probably my pride and joy, my favorite stuff that I spend the most time with these days, which is Gurdjieff and the Fourth Way. I'll go over this real quick. I just got this, so don't judge me. Haven't read it. A Further Record, P.D. Uspensky, Extracts from Meetings. P.D. Uspensky, A Record of Meetings. In Search of the Miraculous. I've spent a lot of time with this book throughout the years. It's a great book. It's what led me to all this other stuff. It's not perfect, and but I don't really need to go into that too much. It's just a great book. If you don't have it, pick it up. We have his other book, Tertium Organum, A Key to the Enigmas of the World. Just a fair warning, Uspensky can be a bit dry, but if you spend time with it, you'll probably appreciate it. Another Gurdjieffian, A Very Great Enigma by J.G. Bennett. This is cool. This is what I've been reading before I fall asleep lately, aside from Beelzebub. This just gives what Bennett claims is the account of Gurdjieff's background, his growing up, where he grew up in the Caucasus Mountains, the type of Sufi initiates that he met, Armenian Orthodox Christianity. There's all kinds of really great imagery, cool stuff. He even has a footnote and cites Isha Schwaller de Lubitz. So there's all kinds of cool connections going on. Bennett was a teacher in his own right, and founded his own foundation, actually, called Subu, if I'm saying that right. We have Is There Life on Earth by J.G. Bennett, which is an introduction to Gurdjieff. We have A. Orange, who was a literary guy before he was a Gurdjieffian, but then he and C.S. Knott became involved with the work, as they say, and this has a lot of really cool stuff in it. I want to revisit this one. This has some stuff that's like, you want to strengthen your brain. I'm not ready for it, me personally, but you want to get to the point where you can do all kinds of mental trickery. Something tells me that this guy was on another level. Then we have this one, Transformation, little Enneagram there, you can barely see, by J.G. Bennett. This was in the glass case at Half Price Books. Had to pick it up. It actually seems really good. I've read a few chapters of it. Seems really cool. Seems good. Bennett definitely knows what's up. And then we have my favorite, the one that if I'm going to spend a good hour of my night reading, this is what I want to be reading. It's the kind of book you cut your teeth on. It's the kind of book that pulls something out of you as you read it, breaks you down. as they say. But it actually, if you flip it around, is 3 books in one set. I just thought it was cooler to do it like that. All right, and then we have Meetings with Remarkable Men, which was what he released after Beelzebub's Tales. And this is a background of a lot of things that Bennett talks about in that Enigma, a very great Enigma book. But this is from Gurdjieff's own writing, which Bennett claims Gurdjieff probably took a lot of liberty and isn't giving us the 100% whole truth, but it's what he wanted to release. Or maybe didn't want to release, actually. I don't know. Then we have Life is Real Only When I Am, which is, I think, the final book that he wrote chronologically, I believe. Then we have Views from the Real World, which is early talks of Gurdjieff. The current group that I'm in is working out of that book. It's over my head, I'll be honest. It's the kind of thing about like distinguishing your personality from your essence. And it is like, whoosh, it's over my head. Another copy of Views from the Real World. Then we got Episodes with Gurdjieff. This is rare, like rare AF. I don't know how I got this. It was in the Half Price Books glass case. I think it's like there aren't that many printed, published. I don't know. Then there's The Herald of Harmony by Rodney Collin. Rodney Collin is a great writer, great Gurdjieffian. Then we have Teachings of Gurdjieff by C.S. Knott. That's really good stuff too. Really, really good. C.S. Knott is an excellent writer. Then we have some of the ones that I'm not, kind of like, whatever. I might get into it. I believe that's Anthony Blake. So the guy who narrates Beelzebub on Audible, who has a very distinct voice, and this guy was involved in the work. This is Anthony. This is Anthony Blake. So, I mean, even though the intelligent Enneagram, you'd think, that has nothing to do with Gurdjieff. It does. He was very involved with the work. So when I'm ready to get into the really nerdy, nitty-gritty stuff with the Enneagram, I will probably revisit that. This, do I need it? No, probably not. Boyhood with Gurdjieff. Someday I'll go through that. There's these like books that are like, this is what my life was like with Gurdjieff, and I'm getting that from Uspensky and Bennett and people like John Pentland. This is some prime stuff right here. This is so good. And then I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. All right, I'll go really quick. We have the one that Parabola, however you say it, the magazine that I've heard is connected with the Gurdjieff Foundation. And it's basically the what am I trying to say? The Gurdjieff tome that they released, and it's edited by Jacob Needleman, who Jacob Needleman's he's cool. He's really cool. The Magic Language of the Fourth Way, which, I'll be honest, I picked that up because sometimes the words used, the language, the way of speaking in Gurdjieffian groups is, that's a whole nother language. As they say in Search of the Miraculous, Gurdjieff says, you're lying. Even when you don't want to, you're lying. Why is this so? Because the words that you use don't mean anything. They just simply cannot be understood